This is the culmination of 44 years of BMW's GS, the Grande Straße, which means terrain and street. This is the R1300 GS, and it's the latest generation of BMW's big boxer-powered adventure touring motorcycle, a segment that BMW gets a lot of credit for creating. Today, I'm gonna take this GS for a ride and find out if it's still the king of, well, the Grande and the Straße. Every motorcycle segment has its God tier machine, and for adventure motorcycling, that's BMW's GS. And the original GS was the R80 GS, introduced as a production model in 1981 after some BMW employees built their own race bikes with an R80 engine in it. It proved to be a great bike on and off-road, and thus a legend was born. From the start, the GS defined the adventure bike, and it still continues to do so. In the last 45 years, the ADV segment has become one of the most popular due to the versatility of do-anything, go-anywhere nature of bikes with long leg power and range, suspension that smooths out the roughest patches of asphalt and dirt, all with comfort to stay on the bike for long travel days, weeks at a time. Is the GS still the king of all things? Well, let's start with touring. There is nothing like an ADV in the motorcycle world. It is a Swiss Army knife on two wheels. Every other segment of motorcycling is more specialized and more focused. Sport bikes, they're meant to go fast and handle well. Cruisers are big on comfort, and dirt bikes, well, they're made for the dirt. But an ADV has to do all of these things. And one thing a big bore ADV has to do well is tour. Historically, BMW's GSs have been mile crushers, but over the years, they've grown bigger and bigger and bigger. Now with BMW slimming down the R1300 GS, is it still a great tourer? So like I mentioned before, BMW has slimmed up the GS quite a bit for this new generation. Bodywork, the tank area, everything is much slimmer and narrower, and you sit on it and you don't feel like you're behind this big, gigantic bubble anymore. But wind protection is still really, really nice, as you'd expect from a GS. They knew that they could not slim it up but lose protection that they've always offered for adventure touring. Because that's one thing that's great about GSs is that a lot of people use them for long distance rides, and if you get fatigued from buffeting and wind on your body and cold and rain, it's not going to work for a GS. A GS has to protect you the whole time, and it does. It's got this really tiny beak on it now, and they've really worked it over with the windscreen. They got some like winglets on the windscreen down below, and then of course you have an adjustable windscreen up and down, which is really nice. Some of the models in the GS 1300 lineup have different sized windscreens. Like the Trophy is a little more off-road oriented, so it has a smaller screen. This triple black edition has a little bit larger screen, and you can get larger screens that are even bigger for touring. But overall, wind protection from the screen is really great, but even your knees and your legs are pretty well protected. Of course, your shins and everything are always well protected. You've got these two gigantic cylinders hanging down in front of them. So in terms of wind protection for touring, that's really great. Ergonomics, of course, it's a big, roomy motorcycle. It always has been. For me, I'm 5'10". I have a 31-inch inseam. It's a little tight with my feet on the foot pegs with actual off-road boots. If you were wearing touring boots or street shoes, riding shoes, I think for my height would be great. But with boots, I would prefer the seat in a higher position. With the optional $695 adaptive vehicle ride height control, the seat height can be as low as 31.5 inches at a standstill. Reach the bars, super comfortable, really great, gets you in a nice attack position for the street. They do have some adjustment rolling forward and back. There's no forward and back adjustment on this bike because it has a new system to remove some of the input from the telelever system to the bars. Now it has adaptive cruise control, which is really nice because you can set it at a speed and it'll hold a distance from the vehicle in front of you. It also has some crash avoidance features that lets you know if you're getting too close to the vehicle in front of you. It has got some rear-facing radar to let you know that people are in your blind spots. It's got all these other great updated features that are really nice to let you know what's going on all the time and keep you informed, which is an important part of touring. Another part important of touring is the engine, obviously. It needs to be smooth, it needs to have plenty of power, it needs to move down the road effortlessly while you're going along long distances. BMW Boxer at highway speeds has always been fairly smooth and fairly nice to ride with, and this one is the same thing. You do get a little bit of vibrations in certain RPMs, and it's a Boxer twin, it's going to have some of that. But once you get it up in the highway speed and you knock it into about 3,000 RPM in top gear and you're cruising along, it is buttery smooth, and it's not going to be fatiguing. You're not going to feel any sort of vibrations. It's really, really nice. And of course, it just moves down the road like it's nothing.
And why does it move down the road so easily? Well, on the Cycle World dyno, the R1300 GS put out 128.4 horsepower at 7,700 RPM and 96.8 pound-feet of torque at 6,400 RPM. There's over 80 pound-feet of torque available at 2,000 RPM, and it stays above that level until 8,000 RPM. That flat torque curve pushes the 566 pounds of the fully loaded GS like it's nothing.
Now we know the R1300 GS is still a great tourer. So what do you tour to do? You tour to get to the twisty roads up in the mountains, and that's what we're going to do next.
It's clear that the R1300 GS hasn't lost any of its touring chops, but that's just one of the many pieces that have made the GS a legend in ADV. What about when the road starts to twist and turn? Does that Boxer Twin's low center of gravity and the updated telelever Evo front suspension still deliver when the ride gets sporty?
Just like the 1250 and even the 1200 before it, the R1300 GS is a great handler. But it's not just that it's a great handler, but it's an easy handling bike. It just does it. You don't have to really think about how to take a corner on this motorcycle. You can lean to the inside, you can counter steer, you can lean to the outside. As long as you're aiming it where you want it to go, it'll go around the corner. It's really such a composed, balanced chassis because of the telelever and the paralevel suspension. It has no chassis upset. No matter what you do with the throttle or what you do with your body position, it just goes around the corner. So whether you grab a handful of throttle coming out of the corner or you're grabbing a fistful of brakes going into the corner, the bike never dives or lifts. It'll wheelie out of a corner if you really jam on the gas and pop the clutch or something like that. But in terms of chassis balance, the R1300 GS, there's no adventure bike that can even touch it. So our bike is fitted with Karoo 4 adventure bike tires from Metzler, and these are more aggressive off-road tires than the stock option. These are factory options that you can put on the bike, but the stock tires are definitely more street biased, and on the street you do lose some handling prowess with these tires. They're chunkier, they're blockier, they have kind of a stepped feel as you're turning in that's a little vague until you're used to it. But like I said, this bike is such a good handling bike. If you trust that they'll hold, which they will, and you get over that weirdness and feeling in the very beginning, and you just lay it over on its side, all is good. So our triple black model is also equipped with the dynamic package, which gives it electronic suspension adjustment, BMW ESA. And when you put it in dynamic mode, not only does it add more oomph to the throttle response and it makes everything kind of sharpened up, stiffens up the suspension a little bit, gives it a really sporty feel. Switch over to road and it adds a little bit of plushness and a little bit more comfort when you're doing long distance touring and stuff like that. But when you get in the mountains like these, switch it over to dynamic and it firms it up and it feels so much more sportier. Then when you go to the other modes, which we really haven't tested too much yet, which is Enduro and Enduro Pro, things change up for off-road use. But dynamic setting, definitely worth the added cost just to increase the handling that much more on an already great handling motorcycle.
Another option worth looking into is BMW's ASA, or Automatic Shift Assistant. Our test unit wasn't fitted with this $970 option, but 2 other CW editors have used the system and were very impressed with the clutchless system that also allows for fully automatic shifting. Making the R1300 GS lighter and slimmer has absolutely improved it. It's truly one of the easiest to ride motorcycles on the road thanks to that great Boxer engine and a supremely stable and balanced chassis. But what about the other half of the ADV equation? How is the R1300 GS in the dirt? Yes, it may have gotten smaller in physical size, but can it really perform as well as the competition in the dirt? The competition has risen the bar when the going gets tough. On the dirt roads, the GS is a joy. It's now slimmer and the ergos are more suited to standing. Opt for the Trophy Edition and you'll get taller bars, bigger foot pegs, and adjustable foot controls for an even better off-road cockpit. A change to Enduro Pro mode sets the suspension up for bumps, removes rear ABS, and lets the rear tires spin as much as you want. Just opt for the Karoo 4 tires and spoked wheels and you will have the ability to shred any fire road you come across. And the R1300 GS won't stop there. You can go just about anywhere you want to take it, even if you don't have the Trophy Edition. Our triple black model has 0.8 of an inch less suspension travel than the Trophy, but we only missed it while jumping or bouncing through whipped out sections of trail. It's really impressive where the GS can take you if you have the bravery and skill. This is the best off-road GS so far.
BMW has absolutely improved the off-road capability of the GS 1300 over the previous 1250. While the 1250 was no slouch when it came to being a big bore ADV off-roader, this got better, mainly because of the slimness of the bike. You can move around on the bike much easier. Your legs aren't splayed out as much. That slimness really works out, but also the engine. Mounting the transmission underneath the engine lowers the center of gravity, and that just gives the bike even a more planted and stable feel off-road than it had before. You definitely feel the weight. There's no doubt, any of these big bore ADVs, you feel their weight. Even so, it'll do almost everything you ask to do, that short of hard enduro or something like that. You can ride a powerline road with them, you can ride 2-track, you can ride single track, as long as there's enough room for the cylinders. Found a couple places today where we couldn't fit through because of the boxer configuration, but that's okay. This thing was never intended to be a hardcore off-roader. It was intended to be something they could do it all and do it all well, and that's what BMW has done with this bike. With the triple black that we have here, it's got the standard suspension and it has the street-oriented foot pegs and foot controls. I would definitely spring for the GS Trophy. Get the bigger foot pegs, get the adjustable brake lever, adjustable shift lever. You get a little bit taller rise of the bars with a riser, and you get 0.8 of an inch more suspension travel. All that's a good thing. It's not gonna hurt it for touring or sport riding or anything like that. It's just gonna improve the ability off-road that much more. Off-road, the R1300 GS has definitely improved from the 1250. It's slimmer, the new engine configuration makes it an even more stable handler, and overall, it just works great.
BMW's R1300 GS is still the king of big bore ADVs. Sure, you can find units that are better off-road and possibly one that is better on-road, but it still slays touring miles while handling better on and off-road than ever before. It does it all, and it does it all well. It's now lighter and slimmer with more power to boot. There's nothing like a big BMW GS, and it still remains the gold standard of adventure touring.